Okay, welcome to the new year. So what is the date today? It's the 2nd of March 2025. And you folks may have noticed that we've been in hibernation for a couple of months. So I think our last Chen chat that we actually got around to doing was probably on New Year's Day.
Yeah, 1st of January, yeah.
And it's now effectively March. So we've been sleeping almost like a hedgehog for a couple of months. Hibernating. Well, we had quite a busy year, as most of you are aware. And we were both quite tired, and there were lots of things going on in the background. So we basically took a bit of time off to sort things out, realign ourselves with the way we want to work and what we're doing, and obviously just reset from an energy perspective. So it's a bit like the winter tree that kind of loses the leaves and then effectively rests. And then as the sap starts to rise, energy comes back, and we're kind of aligning ourselves with a new start for a new year, which is good. So back to Chen chats. Chen's quite keen to talk because Chen likes to talk, as we all know and love, which is quite cool. From my perspective, it is the 2nd of March. So we've got our course starting tomorrow. So again, another 6-week spiritual development and protection course. So I've got these running we've got these running every 6 weeks with a few weeks worth of gap in between or something. And again, talking to Chen, he was quite keen to come in and actually talk to people, as he would be. So the way that these courses ran before, Chen would come in on the last week of the 6 weeks, and he would do a questions and answers. So what we're going to do this way round is we're going to basically bring Chen in for the last sort of 15-20 minutes every week. So he gets to talk about spiritual development, gives some of his opinions on things, protection, teaching, and obviously just his sort of spiritual nuggets, really, that Chen comes out with, which everyone seems keen to hear. And obviously we've had quite a lot of demand for more Chen, really. So we're responding to the demand for more Chen to give you guys more Chen. So if you are thinking about learning spiritual protection, or you're a holistic practitioner and you need some help, obviously working with clients every day tends to be holistically difficult, and there's lots of energies that get left around, and generally lots of overlay and lots of problems from stagnant energy, etc., in your life. And I think the more spiritually aware you become, and certainly for practitioners working, the more you start to notice that you start to feel fatigued and tired. And as we're all aware, there's a whole host of spiritual problems that can creep in and come up that you don't really see. So this course is designed, obviously, to give you the skill set to be more aware of yourself from a spiritual protection perspective, and to guard and look after your own family's energy, because we've all got families, we've all got people in our lives that we love and look after. So all of those people need spiritual protection, and this obviously is what we've been doing now for 20 years, a long time it seems. Yeah. So I think we're kind of pretty well versed at all of the techniques and things that you need to do to kind of protect yourself and perform intervention, really, from a spiritual perspective on yourself when there are problems. So that's what this course is designed to do, is to give people the right skill sets and ideas and techniques that they can empower themselves from a spiritual angle, really. So that course starts tomorrow. So if you're joining us, that'd be great. We're looking forward to it. Chen's keen to talk, so he'll be talking, which will be good. And obviously this week we're about to go through the questions.
Yeah, picked out a few of those. Yeah,
that I think came in over the last probably a couple of months, I guess.
Yes.
So we're back online now. So it's going to be New Year's in place, and we're kind of hot to trot to a certain degree. So these will be a lot more regular than they were in that hibernation period. Okay, so with that being said, I will hand over to Chen, who's going to speak to Jayne, go through the questions, and work through the normal things that we do.
Okay.
I'm off for a sleep, basically.
I'll see you enjoy your snooze.
Cool. Okay, I'll hand over to Chen. Good day to you, my dear.
Hello, Chen. How are you?
Late.
Yes. I thought we might be.
Yes. When I say late, my dear, of course we are aware that hibernation, I think, is a very good term, and it very clearly outlines all of you really do need to hibernate.
Yes.
And of course, all of you are busy during the year. Obviously, all of the people listening to this conversation have lives and are busy. And those months of, certainly in the Northern Hemisphere, of November, December, January, they are the tiring months of the year. And of course, as Andrew rightly said earlier, nature goes to sleep, and humans are part of nature to a certain degree.
Yes.
So it's only right that you should take time to calm yourselves down mentally and physically, and to enjoy some rest, and basically allow yourself to revitalize ready for the coming spring, which of course is when the rest of nature wakes up. And of course, from a human perspective, as do you.
Yes, yes. We needed, I mean, we've come up with new ideas and things. We haven't totally wasted time. So, and obviously, you know, Auntie and you have still been doing all the clearings, and, you know, things have kept ticking along, but we did just need to ease back a little bit just to catch our breath, really.
Yes, my dear, it never stops. The work never stops.
No.
I do recall explaining to both yourself and young Andrew that this is what you'll be doing until you take your last breath. So this is a marathon.
No retirement for us.
Yes. So this is a long haul as opposed to a short sprint.
Yes.
And you have to align yourself to the long haul. And therefore you have to work in a way that sustains your own energy and isn't too impactful from an energetic perspective.
Yeah.
And of course, as you know, I never stop my work. We work every single day together doing clearings, and there's lots of other things that happen behind the scenes that we obviously do too.
Yes.
So even though we may not have been seen from a social perspective, we're still working.
Yes. And I've got to ask you, did you enjoy doing your world meditation?
Yes, my dear.
Yes.
It was thrilling.
Yes.
Thrilling. And the impact on the planetary energy was magnificent to see from our perspective. Yes, because when we do group work, we connect to everyone. And obviously you are the energy, you are the batteries. So us from a spiritual perspective, we don't have a physical body, but you have the physical battery. So if we can connect to your battery, we can move huge amounts of energy through each of you. And that's what was performed during that particular meditation.
Yeah, amazing. We had some lovely feedback.
Yes, it was very nice. And I did obviously oversee some of that myself. When you open your emails, my dear, obviously I don't have eyes to read, but I can read your energy vibration.
Yes.
And when you smile, I smile too.
Oh, good. So that's nice to know. Thank you. Well, we've got another one. We've got one 30th of March. So we're taking bookings for that now. It's on the website.
Yes,
but,
I'm
so you'll be able to. Yes, I expect you are. Yes.
Yes, I'm like a child sometimes.
Yeah, I can believe it.
Yes, it's good, as we say, laugh every day.
Yeah.
I laugh every day myself, and you obviously must and do too.
Yes, you must watch us doing that then.
Yes, yes, it's very nice to see laughter.
Yes.
Because of course it changes vibration.
Yes, it does, yes.
And it's free, there's no charge. There are not many things in your human life that are free these days.
No.
But being able to sustain yourself and to laugh and to change your energy and vibration is down to your own choice and your own self-responsibility.
Yeah.
And it's...
Yes, that's very true.
It's very important.
It takes work, doesn't it? Yeah. Yes. Well, that's what rest is all about as well, isn't it? Yes. So things don't become so overwhelming, it's difficult to...
Yes, it's all about learning to prioritize.
Process it all, yes, yeah.
And of course, you must work on yourselves, as I know, my dear, you have been doing.
Yes.
All of you have your own personal experiences and challenges, of course, and your spiritual path. So every single person listening to this conversation has challenge in their life from someone, whether it be their family, their friends, their work situation, or other people in their outbound acquaintance group. So everyone has challenge and everyone has problems. And that means you get the opportunity to develop yourself. But at times that challenge can become overwhelming.
Yes.
And when that challenge becomes overwhelming, you have to stop and you have to take stock of yourself and you have to look inside.
Yes.
And looking inside is very traumatic and stressful for most people.
Yes. Yes. And it can feel like a bit of a muddle for quite a long time. And then you start to understand things better. When you start looking inside yourself. It'll take the courage to look inside yourself, actually.
Yes.
So it's
and then you bloom, my dear, like a flower blooms. And that's what happens as you look inside and you clear old memories, old emotions, old pain, old trauma.
Yes.
That pain can be just cleared and removed from your field. And as that happens, your vibration changes and then you start to bloom and you start to radiate positivity. And this is why looking inside is so important.
Yes.
And most people never do it.
No, it takes a bit of courage, doesn't it?
Yes, because there are nasty things in there.
Yes.
Generally. So those nasty things are life experiences.
The dealing with things is very therapeutic. It is.
Yes. Like when I watch you, my dear, when you put lines in things that you've done and you smile to yourself, I watch. I do see.
On my to-do list.
Yes. It gives you great feedback to know you've accomplished a task.
Yes. I make lists. I'm old-fashioned. I'm not good at IT. I make lists, paper and pen, And then I've got a pink highlighting pen, and I love putting my lines through just to explain what Chen's talking about.
We do watch.
Yeah.
Yes. It's very nice. It's
Yes.
very sweet to see you doing these
Oh.
things. I laugh to myself.
Yeah.
Gives me
Yeah.
laughter.
Yeah. Do you know what I do sometimes? If I've forgotten to add something to the list, but I've already done it, I write it down and then I
cross
put
it off.
that.
I've seen this happen, my dear. Yes.
Oh,
That's interesting.
well, that's my thing. I get laughed at.
Yes, it's good. And of course, for all of the people listening, you must remember all of your guides do the same thing as I do. They all sit and watch from behind the scenes. We don't watch with our eyes, we don't have physical eyes, but we see
No.
your energy change.
Yes, you
And
understand.
of course, we are connected to your thoughts. So every thought that you have to a certain degree, we're able to process and read. So when I see you do something like write a line that you've already done and then strike it off, I've obviously read or linked into from a telepathy perspective that thought. And that's what makes me smile.
Yes. Yes. Well, I do get laughed at. I'm not very techy. I mean, I'm improving my technical skills. I've had to really, but I do like to be old-fashioned and write things down as well.
Well, that's also a very good point, my dear. These days, people in the old world, people like yogis and people in different countries, didn't need IT and tech to be spiritual. But these days, if you run a spiritual business, these are worldwide businesses connected over the internet, and you have to become technical. You have to know how to connect to audiences and to speak to people.
Yes.
So the technical aspects are a must-have, whereas in the past they were nice to have.
That's right. Yes, correct. Yes, I mean the first computers really. I mean, I know the banking systems and that all have, but I can remember my sister. She was probably 5 or 6, and she had her first computer, and it was all for games.
Yes.
There was nothing else, that we could do with that one. But yeah, time moves on, doesn't it?
Yes, it's interesting.
But I don't sometimes.
Oh, well, you must do what's familiar.
Yes.
If, dare I say, my dear, you are getting older.
Thank you, Chen.
You're no longer 20.
No, I'm 58, heading towards 60.
Yeah, so you must still embrace technology and keep up.
Yes.
Try to keep up.
Yes. Well, we need to, don't we?
Yes, you
Otherwise, I mean, my parents didn't ever. I mean, my dad, bless him, he's not here anymore, but he wouldn't even know a PIN number for a service still card.
No.
It
can be problematic if you need money and you don't have any.
Yes. Bless him. Anyway, we've got some questions.
Yes, good. Let's get cracking.
Let me pop my glasses on. I saved quite a not amusing, amusing one for the end. Okay, so the first question is from Sanlia Stevens. And I'm sorry if I pronounced that wrong. Hello, Chen. Could you please explain what is awakening? Thank you.
Awakening from a spiritual perspective.
I would imagine, yes.
Yes. So awakening is a term, I guess, is a word effectively, but when people awaken, generally it means that you come online. So people have been born into different cultural and family environments and then overlaid with religion, teachings and schoolings. And all of those things are generally designed to close people down. But of course, many people these days, because of the vibrational changes coming into the planet, are having spiritual experiences like yourselves.
Yeah.
And when you have a spiritual experience, it's termed an awakening. So you realize that there is a spiritual vibration, there is a spiritual world, and those worlds have spirits that live in them. And of course, these spirits generally are the deceased spirits of people, your ancestors, people that have walked the planet. So from my perspective, an awakening would be defined as someone that's woken up, realizes there is not just the physical that you see, there is different vibrational frequencies, those that we call spirit for one, and in those vibrational frequencies, other energies and entities exist.
And would it be true to say that it's always an experience? When it's something that actually happens to a person, it's something they've experienced that gives them their awakening?
Yes, for most people, you're physical people. So most people that have or encounter a spiritual event, this is what changes their lives and this is what changes their understanding. So people that don't or haven't had a spiritual experience may be interested in spirituality, may be interested in different topics, but until they actually experience something that isn't tangibly physical, then of course that is the starting point to awaken. So that is the point that we say someone is awakening or someone has woken up.
And of course, sometimes it can be a bit of a scary experience as well, can't it?
Yeah.
I know when it happened with Andy and I, you know, it took us a long time to get to grips, find people to help us, and find people like Andy is working with you now to sort of help us through. It was, you know, I'm sure that's the same for many people.
Yes, well, you were being hunted, my dear, which is slightly different to most people.
More. Okay, well, we say no more then.
Yes.
And Joe Clark, how to make aura sprays and include angelic vibration.
Interesting question. I do like young Joanna.
Yes.
We do connect and we do speak, and I speak to her directly sometimes when she asks as well. So she's one of my favourite people.
Yes, I know. She's lovely. Hi,
Yes.
Joe.
So it's a very interesting question. So making sprays, so let's think about vibration. Everything is a vibratory frequency. So when you take a bottle of something and you add something like distilled water, then you can add flower essences, you can add essential oils, you can add anything into that water. And every time you put a drop of something different in, of course, the vibrational frequency changes.
Yeah.
And this is the key. So you can make room sprays that not only smell nice by adding essential oils to distilled water or something, because distilled water has no mineral deficiencies. Obviously, tap water contains some toxic things,
chemicals,
chloride, chlorine, and those sorts of things. So distilled water or water that's been heated and then cooled, which you could do from the kettle, obviously becomes distilled. And that water is just water molecules. It doesn't have anything nasty in it, basically. So you can just create a bottle, you can put sprays in, you can drop oils, essential oils, you can leave them outside to charge with sunlight. So on a sunny day, light basically gets incorporated into the water molecules and into the molecules in that particular spray. And then, of course, when you spray it around your room, that carries power. And obviously it clears negative stagnant energy. And the same can be used, as you know, my dear, to clear other things that are negative in and around the house.
Yes.
Things that you can't see. So room sprays are a very important part of cleansing your own home environment. But of course, the big problem today is most people are using toxic chemicals. So candles and things that they burn that are made with toxic elements.
Yeah.
And even though they may smell nice, of course, it's chemicals. It's not natural essential oils.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I find a difficulty. A change in my breathing when a candle can be sold as a soy wax or natural essential oil, but I know when it's not.
Yes, but of course, if it's soy wax, doesn't mean that the actual the smell element isn't chemically based.
Exactly. Yeah. So you do need to look for essential oils rather than fragrance oil.
Yes.
But I can tell when that it's not quite right. Even if I only ever buy a candle that everything is supposed to be essential oil and natural wax, but I can tell when I'm burning something. They might have told a few porcupines.
Yes, well, chemicals are hugely toxic to the human body. And of course, when they are breathed in, they're ingested into lungs and they cause problems.
Yes. So in this aura spray, you could almost maybe drop a couple of crystals into the bottom of the bottle.
Yes, crystals would help to change the vibration. Rose petals obviously would be good. So flower petals,
a flower of life.
Flower of life, very protective symbology, which changes the vibration again. And of course, your intention. So if you hold your hands over the bottle, and almost as a Reiki practitioner would know, you use your intention to basically do something to provide protection or to clear space or to bring in positive energy. So your intention will also change the vibration. And this, my dear, you see, you bring flowers into this home and you Reiki the flowers and they last for weeks.
Yes, I do. Yeah.
When you remember to, of course.
Yes.
I've noticed young Andrew likes to do that because he's a cheapskate, and that means the flowers last longer.
So he
has to buy them less often.
When he spent 20 quid on a bunch of flowers, he wants them to last, I expect.
Yeah, so there's quite a lot of time that his hands are on top of them. Very good.
Oh, right, there we go, Joe. So get cracking, make some nice aura sprays. Bree McCabe, when we meditate or contact our higher guides and we experience responses, how do we know we aren't making it up? I know you have mentioned to have them show you a sign that only your guide would show you, but how do we know we aren't being lied to or making it up? This might be a tricky one.
Of course, it's a very interesting question, because on the outset, when you use your intention, you put yourself in your spiritual bubble, you're in your sovereignty sphere, as we like to say. So when you're working is your own responsible collective energy of just yourself with nothing negative, then of course your intuition is what you listen to. So when you make a request to spirit to say, show me a sign or give me a sign, obviously the correct answer is to learn to use telepathy, and then you can talk to your guides and actually have a conversation like we do here. But of course, if you haven't got that developed so far, then of course you can ask for signs, and we in spirit can find ways, inventive ways generally, to show you the signs. But of course you don't really know if it's your guide that's showing you or whether it's some type of imposter energy basically hooking in. And this of course is the difficulty. So for people that are still struggling or still on their spiritual path and still learning, imposters are a big problem. And of course everyone connects to imposter guides at some point when they think it's their own. And this is how you learn. So there isn't a spiritual person alive, I'm pretty sure, that could say with their hand on their heart they've never knowingly had some type of other energy try to authenticate as their guide. So most spiritual mediums will tell you that they've met and had imposters. Andrew's quite happy to hold his hands up and say many a time other entities tried to spoof my connection with myself. And of course sometimes it was a day or two before he noticed, going back 10, 15 years or so. But obviously the more you connect, the more you know the energy. Like your friend, if your friend walked in the room and you had your eyes closed and they started to speak to you, you would know intimately this is your friend. If someone else walked into the room and your eyes were closed and they spoke to you, you would know it wasn't your friend. So again, it's practice that actually allows you to learn the energetics of the connection. And I think that's probably the answer.
Yes, thank you, Chen. And keeping your confidence then after that, isn't it, with it?
Yes, also working with people that know what they're doing. Everyone needs a spiritual teacher.
Yes. Okay, thank you. Ariana Gonzalez says, hi, Chen. Can you explain the hierarchy in the higher planes? I know that souls have their own specialities, but is there a ranking in terms of strength, power, or high vibration? For example, is Source the highest vibration, then the archangels? Or where do Ra and Metatron, sorry, put my tongue back in, Metatron come in? Thank you, Jen.
Yes, an interesting question.
It is, yeah.
So from a spiritual perspective, like everything, there's always hierarchy. And our hierarchy is based on vibration. So depending upon how fast you vibrate as an entity depends upon the layers that you can ascend into effectively. And obviously core conscious awareness, we call things core conscious awareness. I think it's Andrew's terminology for source, basically. So if you can imagine that the sun is the highest thing that you see from physical perspective, core conscious awareness would be effectively the sun in that way. And of course there are then hierarchical layers of entities, the ones that you described. So we have archangels, we have lots of other entities. In fact, there are thousands and thousands, probably millions of entities that sit in that cascaded list down between. And each one has a vibratory frequency. And depending upon the frequency they can vibrate to, depends upon their hierarchical layer. And this is the way that we work when we perform clearings. I've spent a long time working with young Andrew and obviously with Terence, learning how to clear entities and energies. And when we met and were approached by entities that we couldn't remove ourselves, we'd have to call in higher, if you like, powers to work with us to clear them. And we still have the same. We have a hierarchical list effectively to follow. But of course, the team in spirit now is huge. So generally, when there is one entity connected to one person and a team like ourselves turn up, we don't even need to do anything. They just clear and remove themselves and we move them on. So to answer the question, there is obviously a huge hierarchical list and entities are basically scaled by their vibratory frequencies.
Interesting. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you very much. I think we did have a conversation at one point about that, didn't we, as well? Because I was wondering, what the source is really, but it's difficult to understand when you're in a human body. But we'll find out one day. Hopefully not for a little while.
You will certainly find out one day.
Yes. Okay, thank you very much. Alariza Saeed. Hello, Jayne, Chen and Andrew. I was listening to Bashar and he said that attachments are not real. This is interesting, isn't it? My experience and what I see in psychic surgery says otherwise. Would you please explain what he might have meant and how it works? Thank you.
Yeah, it's another interesting question.
Yeah.
And of course, this is one of the problems, really. The spiritual domain is the same as any other domain to a certain degree. There are lots of people and there are lots of entities working with different people in the configuration of guides, etc. And each one has their own opinions and their versions of things.
Like humans.
Yes, and of course, wordings. So I have my conversational wording based upon Andrew's dialect and the terminology that's available to me, effectively.
Oh, yes.
And of course, obviously, other entities have the same thing. So, obviously, from Bashar's perspective, you must remember that different entities are here to teach different things. So, if you're aligned with a certain group of people, and that certain group of people wouldn't be very receptive to understanding that there are negative entities that chase you around all day and can spoil your life, then the teachings from that particular guide would be aligned with not providing that type of information, because of course it wouldn't be receptive to the audience and the group of people listening. So in my world, obviously working with Andrew, we place ourselves exactly in that space. We work with negative entities,
Yes.
clear entities. We work directly against demonic entities, all sorts of negative things, ET energy that's very negative. We all know there's lots of species of entity that have been talked about for a long time, and they're considered to be negative because their purview on planet Earth is negative. They act in a negative way and they do negative things. And we all know that there are lots of organizations and secret societies and groups of people that are doing very negative things, and they are aligned with very negative entities too. And lots of people that are hearing voices will say the voices or the entities told them to do negative things. So I think from that perspective, certainly from my perspective, there's more than enough proof that negative entities exist.
Yes.
But in the teachings of Bashar, the audience that he's actually electing to speak to probably aren't receptive to that conversation.
Okay, that makes sense, doesn't it?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, thank you. I hope
Is that a
that
good
answers your
question?
question. Yes.
Yes.
Yes, thank you, Eloisa. Earth alchemy. This is interesting. How does birth charts work for souls that were born in by man-made birth dates, i.e. being induced early or cesarean section, because they're organised, aren't they?
Yes.
Dates put in the diary. So did our soul already know it would come early and therefore our birth chart is accurate, or did man foul that up for these individuals after the blueprint was created?
That's an
I like
interesting
this,
question.
yes, yeah.
I don't think we've covered this before.
No, we haven't.
Actually, no.
Nope.
It's very interesting. So thank you for proposing that particular question.
Yes.
So certainly from my perspective, obviously, before you come into a life form as a human being, obviously you're selecting your spirit guides, you're selecting your name, you're selecting your gender, you're selecting the people that were around you, you're incarnating in soul groups with people that you've lived with before in past lives. So most things are known, really, to a certain degree. And obviously the birth chart would again be selected, not potentially by you, but by the people you're coming in with, how you're coming in, and the frequency, because everything is frequency.
Yes.
So regardless of which day you're born or where the moon is, where the planets are, it's your frequency of vibration that's the key thing. And that's primarily what we're selecting when we actually choose a particular day or a certain time.
Okay.
And of course, humans can and do foul things up. So some people, some people are still alive that would have died in childbirth. But of course, the medical profession intervene and they save that child, and that child goes on to live a life.
Yes.
But from a spiritual perspective, maybe that wasn't the right thing to happen.
No, okay.
Maybe that life could have ended in the womb or at childbirth. So there's lots of things that change. And of course, there are options, because of course we have the concept that if a particular spirit is engaged in an incarnated life and something changed along the way, like they didn't die in childbirth and then they're born and they look at the lifetime that they now have to live, that spirit may decide it doesn't want to do that. And then it would potentially hand over to another spirit. And this is where you have this concept of walk-ins and spirit replacement.
Yes.
Because the original spirit didn't want to go through a 90-year life. It only wanted to experience death in childbirth, let's say. So once they've passed that point in time, it's past the elected choice they had, and quite often they then give their physical body to another spirit.
That's
so they may be involved in a car crash, and of course that spirit effectively leaves, and then when they come back from anesthetic, there's a different entity, spiritual entity, in that physical body. And this would account for lots of these stories when people say, someone had an accident and when they woke up, they speak a different
I was
language.
just thinking that. Yes.
Or of course they like different foods, they have a different personality because you've got a different spiritual energy encased in the physicality.
Would they still have all the same memories of the life that person has already lived?
Most probably not, because
No.
of course that spirit will actually have had the experiences, not the new one that's coming in.
Yeah.
Because the brain doesn't hold the memories per se. It's the spiritual energy that holds the memories. So the brain is just the physical part, like the heart, that makes the body work.
Yes. Yes, I saw a lady interviewed on whatever a few weeks ago, and she had, if I'm thinking about the right lady, she'd had a stroke, and when she woke up, she was talking with an Italian accent. You opened your eyes again then.
I was just checking. Andrew was just saying to me, did he press record?
I've checked. It is
Yes.
recording. Yeah, and she woke up with an Italian accent, and she could actually speak a bit of the language and everything as well. It just seems so.
So was that the same spirit, or was that like a past life that she led as an Italian person?
I don't think she knew.
No,
she didn't know, but she was interviewed because obviously she was a person of interest.
Yes.
But it was, yeah. I mean, I think she knew her husband. I think she knew her husband. Her husband was being interviewed as well, but it's very interesting.
But of course, she could have known her husband from a past
life. Yeah, exactly.
So it could have been someone that was in a very close past life configuration that then took the place, maybe.
Yes, yeah, and reminded her of her memories.
Yeah.
This is interesting, isn't it? Thank you very much for that question.
Yes, very intelligent question.
Yes. There we go. So finally, Hannah Moss. Have you got a link into Terry this evening, Dr. Palmer?
I certainly can convene.
Are you right? Okay.
Converse with Mr. Palmer.
Okay, so
speak every day.
Yes, I know. Hannah Moss. Hi, Jayne, Chen, and Andy. I bought and read The Science of Spirit Possession by Dr. Terence Palmer last year and found it absolutely fascinating and very informative. I loved that he had his spiritual awakening in Crete because I've had a lot of spirit encounters during prolonged stays out there myself. It's very magical. And I was wondering if Chen could answer on his behalf.
Yes, I will certainly try.
So now that Terence is in spirit, does he know when someone is reading and enjoying his book? And if so, does he make a little visit to check the reader out and perhaps give what you might call a nod of approval when someone finishes reading his book?
He does.
Good.
As you can imagine, there aren't many people that have read young Terence.
It's hard to understand.
Andrew, I think, started and then ticked the give up box. I think young Jono started and probably ticked the give up box too. But then, of course, they weren't really the audience.
It's a very intellectual book.
Yes, his book. Terence was a very intellectual person.
Yes, he was. Yes.
He was a scientist in his own way. And of course, that book was written with the audience to be psychiatry and people that were very educated in the medical profession. So the wording and the way that he actually illuminates the subject is designed for those sorts of people. So it wasn't really written for the general public per se, which is why most people find it very difficult to read. So Hannah has done quite well to actually finish that book, of course. But I can assure you that young Terence would certainly have been watching over your shoulder as you closed the last page and would have probably tapped you on the back.
High five, Hannah.
Yes.
Oh, wonderful. Oh, that's nice to know. I know you do work very closely, don't you?
Because of course everything's vibration. So when you buy a book, if you go and buy Terence's book today, of course you take that vibration, his energy, the book that he wrote, and much of it was written with myself, of course, as a ghost
writer,
as he would say. He used to laugh and say, "Are we ghost writing this, Chen?" And I used to say, "Well, I am a ghost, so I guess so." So we used to laugh together. And of course, lots of information came in.
That's interesting.
Intuitively to him because he wasn't able to use telepathy to speak. So we would give information in that way. And of course, Andrew provided lots of information too over the years.
Yes.
But as soon as someone buys that book, he obviously knows because it's his energy that's been picked up. And he would obviously pay a visit to that person because it's interesting to see who's interested in your work, of course, primarily.
Yes, of course. Well, his name does come up quite often, obviously, now because of the Spirit Release Academy. Yes. And, there's Terry's very involved, isn't he?
Well,
So,
Terry's working feverishly in the background,
yes.
as are all
Yeah.
of us, because of course the academy was designed to be an academy. It was designed to be a teaching platform,
Yeah.
spirit inspired. It was designed and elected into space by us from a spiritual perspective to work with mankind and to help
Yeah.
people. And obviously young Andrew and Terence gave up 10 or 11 years of their life together to research this. And of course, with my input too, this is why we have protocols to use and why we have educational teachers, people that are trusted, because this is a dangerous area for people that don't know what they do.
Yes, exactly.
And people that are hearing voices and suicidal are not people that should be connecting to people that don't understand what they're doing and how they do it.
No.
And this is why the academy was formed, was to teach a safe practice, because obviously we need more people clearing negative energy. There's a lot of negative energy, and there's been a lot coming in recently. So there's more and more requirement for these types of people that can hold the vibration, hold their integrity. But it's a difficult area because you have to work with integrity and truth to actually perform the work. And of course, this is quite a difficult choice for some people.
Yes.
And of course, the other side from our perspective is, we try not to work with people that are egotistical, because ego is one of the biggest problems for most humans.
Yes.
When you become good at something, obviously you energetically flourish yourself and you become confident. But there is a divide between being confident and good at what you do and becoming egotistical, because the ego is a part of you that would like to take over.
Yes.
And this is the part that most people struggle to control.
Yes, it is. Yeah. People get carried away, don't they?
Yes.
Yes. Self-importance and such like. Well, I mean, you actually guided and advised Terry, didn't you, on building the protocol that's used today?
Partly my protocol.
It is your protocol, isn't it? Because you were
Terry documented.
Advising Terry, yes.
Yes, Terry did the research from a physical perspective and documented what we actually found and how we did things. But of course, it was myself working alongside other entities in the spiritual realm that were looking for these different vibratory frequencies that were incorporated into the field that we needed to work out how to clear. So that was my job, was to find out how to do that. And then, of course, that was translated into words by Terry. And this is how that spirit release protocol came about.
Yes.
Effectively, the protocol is the works of myself, Terence and Andrew, because the three of us all needed to be playing an integral part to create something new. Because you must remember, it was new. Completely new. You had spirit release therapy before, but that was just moving on discarnate spirits generally. It wasn't clearing entities of low vibration. It wasn't connecting to alien or ET entities. It wasn't looking for portals and all of the other things that were found in the field and in the space. So now there's a whole host of different vibrations that we look to clear. And of course, that's why it took 10 years. Because
the big guns.
Yes, we can clear everything just about. But of course, there is, still the caveat that some people still have problems and some people have their own mental construct problems, that they create things themselves, because the human being is an architectural device. You can make things, you can manufacture things and create things in the astral frequencies. And of course, if you're very emotional or angry, you can create negative, angry things that exist around you. And they obviously impact your mental state and your emotional state. So there's only so much we can clear that's external. Some things that you create and continue to co-create yourselves need to be cleared by you as an individual.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody has their own responsibility, don't they?
Yes. So what we do isn't magic. We do things that we do in the way that we do them. And generally the protocol works quite well. But of course, it's always work in development. And that was why the Academy was co-founded by young John and Andrew to build something that could work into the future. And as things change, new things come about and they can be incorporated into the techniques of that protocol.
Yes.
So we'll be ever advancing. And as you know,
interesting.
It wears young Andrew and John out because we're continually pushing them. Terence is continually banging the desk.
Yes.
And whilst they're having fun on Fridays in the office, we are watching what they're up to.
Well, that's good. I mean, there's got to be a bit of humour, hasn't there?
There has to be fun. You can't just continue to work.
No.
You have to stop sometimes and laugh every day. And I say to young Andrew some time ago, you should make Fridays an enjoyable day for you and young Jono and the other people in the office, where you stop and you have a laugh and you talk. And we know they do other things too. Because we watch them.
Well, yes, what did they say about Fridays? I can't quite remember now, but yeah, it's not a work hard day, is it?
No, Friday
If you
afternoon
need
should
to be.
be a fun down day.
Yes.
Because it should be aligning your energy, bringing your energy down, ready for the weekend.
Yes.
Which should be rest, recuperation, fun.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
So having some fun on a Friday afternoon it's the old world, remember. Most people used to do this back in the day, would stop on Friday afternoons and they'd all go to the pub and they'd drink and be jolly and have fun. And that's what I think people need to remember, is that work's not work on Friday afternoons. It should be fun time.
Interesting. Well, that's why they like to get their business advisor out of the door by 2:00.
Yes.
They can fry up their steaks.
Yes, have some fun.
Yes.
The music's very loud, I hear.
Oh my goodness. Yeah,
Yes,
well,
luckily they're in a castle.
yeah, and they need to be careful. They'll end up like me with tinnitus.
Well, this is the choices to a certain degree.
Yeah.
But then, of course, if you enjoy music, loud music is good.
Which they both do.
Music changes your vibration. It changes the space. And of course, that office needs to be a high vibrating, very protected space. All of Terence's work and all of Andrew's work is in that space. So it needs to be looked after energetically and maintained. And there's obviously a good reason that they chose a castle to be the office.
Yes, they got it looking lovely, I have to say.
Yes, for two men, it's quite surprising.
Well, I think actually Jono has a big hand in that, because Andy's not into, making a place look nice. Excuse me, he's just more interested in sort of sitting down, drinking his coffees and getting on with the work, really. But Jono's done a wonderful job.
Yes,
Jono is amazing.
Jono is more adept at colour schemes and
more artistic,
soft furnishings and those sorts of things. Yes. If it was left to Andrew, you'd probably have half an engine in the floor that was being taken apart or something, and tools everywhere.
When I met Andy, he had he bought a new house. He got a TV on a chair the other side of the room, and he'd invested in a nice squishy leather sofa, and I think there was a beer fridge under the stairs.
What else would you need, my dear? Somewhere to sit, a television to watch, and obviously cold drink.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, there we are. Well, we better wrap up. But thank you very much, Chen. Thank you, and thank you, Hannah. Sorry, we went off track a bit. So
yes, it's a very good question from Hannah. Obviously, Terence watches everything. Don't you worry. I watch everything too. Yes. That's good. Thank you, my dear. It's been nice to reconnect now that you're back from hibernation.
Yes, back from the cave.
Which is good. Yes, inspired with new energy. There's lots of new things happening.
Yep.
There's lots of things happening in the world that are quite exciting, really. There's lots of change, and change is good.
Yes.
I always think people see change and start to panic and worry. But of course, nothing can stay the same because everything's changing energetically. So you do need to change jobs. You do need to change houses. There's things that you do need to change in your lives.
No, we can't change jobs.
No, well, you're a bit stuck, my friend, because you've had the opportunity to change up until some time ago. But of course, you now have lots of work ahead, my dear, as you're more than aware.
Yes.
But this isn't job for you. This is fun.
It's life. It's just our life, isn't it?
Yes.
Great.
But when you're doing what you love, it's not work.
That's very true. That is very true, actually.
Yes.
We're very lucky.
Yes, you are very lucky.
Yes.
You're very lucky to have me to come.
Yes, I knew you were going to say that.
Yes, of course.
But of course, we do know we are.
Yes, and I'm very lucky to have both of you too, of course.
Oh, that's nice.
So that was why we chose you in the first place.
Yes. And of course, all our watchers, listeners, followers are very lucky to see you as well.
Yes, we're very lucky to have them. I get excited about being able to speak and converse in this way, because of course there are a whole host of entities in spirit that would love to be able to do this. They would love to have a physical body they could animate and take over and speak through.
So it's a privilege for you.
So it's a huge privilege. Yes. One that I never forget about, even though I may joke and take the mickey out of young Andrew. But of course, there is a symbiotic relationship that works here in a very good way.
Yeah.
And from my perspective, obviously, I've elected to try to teach and help humanity in any ways that we can. And this is what we do. So I still learn things every day, the same as you do. I still have my job to do every morning, so to speak, although, of course, I don't need to sleep. So it's slightly different. But we still have agendas to work with.
Yes. You're not putting the washing in, though, are you?
No. No.
Okay, Chen. Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, it's
Enjoyed
been my
talking to you this
pleasure, my
evening.
dear. I'm
Thank
glad to
you.
see you laughing and smiling,
Yes. Yes.
which is very good.
Yeah.
And I will say good day to everyone and bring Andrew back. And we will speak again soon, no doubt.
Yes. Yes. Thank you very much, Chen.
Good day.